Well, team, I'm a little bored. The last stick release was only a couple weeks ago. I need some ideas. So, what do we got going on? Let's go. It's been 3 months. We got to fast track another trigger like tomorrow. Guys, what should we call it? I don't know. Trigger 10 Pro?
Why didn't I think of that?
Oh, man. That's ballsy, but I like it. I think that's got some creative potential to run with. Yep. Now, with such a bold new name, though, what can we do to make this trigger different? I got it. When we went to the Trigger 8, we got rid of the green and we went with purple. This time, why don't we get rid of the purple and just go to a rainbow? My God, Johnson, that's brilliant. And you know what? We could send it to Hockey Reviews. He'll talk about that for 25 minutes. Do it. Do it now. Guys, you know what else could make it different? Why don't we throw that trash Helicoid blade on it, send it to Hockey Reviews. He'll just say he doesn't have time to realize the durability. It's brilliant. Maybe even Hockey Tutorship. I bet you they won't mention it a single time. What do you guys think? Helicoid back? Yeah. Honestly, you guys are brilliant. I don't know how you do it. That is definitely something we're going to do. I'd like to see this done. Proposal on my desk, 10 a.m. tomorrow. I don't want to be that guy, but the Helicoid is picking up steam online. People are starting to realize it's trash, but I do realize that it's already on about 6 of the next stick releases, so I'm not really sure what we're going to do about that. I mean, the new tax, that's got it on it as well. Almost forgot about that. The XF Pro just came out, and we haven't seen a leaked picture yet of the new one. Well, since we're throwing ideas around, what are we going to call the new tax? X what? I know we're struggling with names lately, but just hear me out. How about we got the XF Pro? How about we go XF2 Pro? Huh?
Brilliant.
Shitty Helicoid. Garbage. I broke the news on Helicoid Blade Tech when the AS6 came out, and in this video almost a year ago where I predicted the downfall of CCM blades and them falling off the top of the stick game. And now we've got stuff like this on Reddit where people have finally noticed. Why didn't y'all listen? Instead, we're letting people like Hockey Reviews talk about how they don't use the stick long enough to actually gauge durability. Well, that's not really helping you, the consumer, is it? That's why we're going to crash that in our video, but that's why this is a real review of the Trigger 9 Pro. The crappy part is we saw the releases and leaks of all the CCM sticks coming with Helicoid blades. I don't know why they put this blade on every stick they're releasing, but the problem now is CCM's 9 to 10 month turnover of sticks means that probably the FT8, Trigger 10, XF2 Pro or something, and even probably beyond that, all has Helicoid in it. Because first of all, they probably signed a contract with Helicoid, but also they had to put these into production. The FT8 is probably sitting and ready in crates with the Helicoid ready to ship from China to manufacture or to retail outlets in the coming months. So you're going to see Helicoid on every release for CCM until somebody at the boardroom goes, man, we should probably get rid of this blade or put something in to improve it. If you break one, you'll notice that the only structure this blade has is its out carbon layer only. It's just soft foam in the middle. That's why it's so undurable. It breaks way too easily. And I've called this from the beginning. This is the biggest caveat with the Trigger, the FT7, FT8, XF Pro, AS6 Pro, any CCM release. I hope to God the Vision doesn't have this bloody blade on it. Ah, fuck. You know, with the 9th iteration of the Trigger and going from basically the 5, even the 4, with this taper and style, you know, I can make a 25-minute video with, you know, game footage, live barn. Okay, maybe one live barn shot. Why not? 6 shot, right? Anyway, but there's no point in really going to the rink, testing this, etc. Because after the games that I did This is just an iteration of the 6, 7, 8, and now the 9. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but at the end of the day, putting the helicoid blade on this doesn't change much, and CCM is just notorious for adding and removing features that triggers and sticks have always had anyway. You know, they love to remove tacky grip, then add it, and then add, raised, bumps and areas for grip, then delete it, and then add it. And that's kind of what the Trigger 9 is. So what's the point in doing all that? There really isn't. So let's just get into the review and we'll quickly talk about it and we'll throw it on the stick tier list. So let's talk about the Trigger 9 as if it doesn't have a helicoid blade, and we'll discuss the shooting, the release, the feel, weight, and balance, and then the durability, and then we'll be able to determine how it ranks even with the helicoid blade on it. Capiche? Chose the Trigger 9 because I wanted a stick for my no slapshot over 40 league where I would get the best, most powerful release without agents available for me, which I would have preferred. There's none of them out in the stores, etc. And I don't want to buy a used one, etc. And I only want one that I can warranty. And unfortunately, they don't really exist anymore. So we do have a Twitch though, but we'll get into that in a different review. Now, the Trigger 9 is all about release and overall power because the stick really hasn't changed from 6, 7, 8, and now 9. The only thing that they keep changing is the weights and grips, etc., and then throwing the different blades on there. The dual feel. You had the Trigger 7 with a stiff blade. You got the Trigger 8 with the dual feel, and then you have the Trigger 9 now with dual feel and helicoid. They're just changing the blades around. The trigger itself hasn't changed, and it still remains the champ, in my opinion, of low kick sticks because it also does everything else well. I almost forgot the Patreon. Come on, guys, you got to help me out. Buying crappy sticks like the XF Pro and then reviewing the trigger and then having to deal with helicoids breaking and stuff all the time. Just shoot me $5, buy me some stick tape, help the channel. I'm not getting these sticks for free. This is all out of pocket for the beer leaguers of the world. Thank you so much. There's so many of you who are so bloody generous, buying like freaking 20 stick tapes. It's crazy. Thank you so much. In another video, I will call out all those people. For now, just help out the channel. Help me help you not choose helicoids.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
The interesting thing that CCM keeps doing is they keep adding and taking and removing this ribbed grip all the time. And it drives me crazy because sticks seem to go up and down and they like remove features and then put features back and then pretend like it didn't exist before. And it's like now with, the ribbed grip and everyone's like, oh, the grip's so good on this. Yeah, they've had this before on the Trigger 6. And then for some reason they take it away and then they bring it back, etc. So yes, this is finally the iteration of an extremely nice trigger because it's very light, it has the grip, and it has the maintain of the shot and the release. So it's finally like the best style of trigger. The thing that's driving me nuts is just leave this now every time you release it instead of like removing it and tweaking it and then pretending like you've improved it because you removed this in a previous generation. As I said, I purchased this for release and shooting of wristers and snapshots in a no slapshot league where I can't do big recoils, and it's probably the best stick for that other than the Agent. And from a shooting perspective, it's a 3.5 out of 5. And the reason is because all around you can snapshot, you can drag wrist shot, you can, toe shoot with it, and your release is excellent. But the power on certain style of shooting, like say snapshots and slappers, is still decent for a low kick stick, far better than any low kick stick out there, but not quite, of course, to mid kick. So you got a 3.5 out of 5 for shooting, but from a versatility standpoint, this is the stick, in my opinion, that's perfect for somebody that mostly takes wristers and like snappers, but unloads one-timers occasionally, etc. So like I've been using this stick in my over 40s, no slap shots, but I've also been just using this in my regular leagues because it works. Release on the Trigger 9 is the usual 5 out of 5. And the reason being is that it is smooth, it is so easy to load, and depending on the flex that you're using, you still get that amazing recoil. I'm using a 75 in this, and I used to actually use a 70 in low kick, just because I wanted the super easy release. But I'm a little bit bigger right now, a little bit heftier, so I'm putting a little bit more into these. So I went back to the 75, and the release is just excellent. It's so smooth, so fast, it's so good. There's really nothing in comparison other than the Agent. Everybody obsessing over the dual feel helicoid, like hockey reviews, thinking that you have to have this for puck feel. And if I had a puck, I'd do something stupid like smack it like this and be like, it's got good puck feel. But at the end of the day, it's a very dull wood feeling type blade, very clunky feeling. I personally am not a fan of the helicoids and the dual feels that CCM has been bringing. I'm all about stiff, but I can handle this for now. And I'm dealing, but I really hope that eventually CCM gets rid of at least in one of their lines and brings back a stiff blade. And the reason is because I'm still on the fence. Is this actually going to survive? Did it just become a fluke, or did they actually change helicoid? I'm not 100% sure. So from a feel, weight, and balance perspective, the stick is excellent because of course, the grip is returned. You've got that little twirly candy cane feature, and you got amazing grip now. CCM's finally done that because they had some issues back in the past. And of course, with the dual feel blade, you have good puck feel if you prefer that type. Me personally, I don't when I'm shooting. It sounds like I'm smoking a piece of wood, but at the end of the day, it still feels really nice, just not my style. So 5 out of 5 for feel, weight, and balance. So now we're talking durability on the helicoid. And the challenge that we have is that I didn't break my trigger, but I did sell it to some poor schlub who probably broke it a game later. No, I'm just kidding. But I did my review, I used it, and then I determined, you know what? I used it at center. I didn't break it. It does have a little bit of stuff here. I'll talk about that right now because this video was filmed in 2 parts. And at the end of the day, I'm still going to rate this as a 2.5 out of 5 because the helicoids are breaking everywhere. And it's not just my experience, it's everybody. I get DMs on Instagram all the freaking time. They're like, you were right, helicoid sucks, it keeps breaking, it is what it is. So the caveat on durability, it's so important to understand that it's gonna break, and it's gonna break very prematurely because of how it's built. You just have to decide, is that what you want in a trigger, or is it better to go back to a 7? So last year when I released the Trigger 8 Pro review, the one thing I said was it's not really worth the upgrade on the Trigger 7 because they were similar weights. They stayed in that like 385 and actual like 395 when you actually put it on the thing. This is significantly lighter, but again, we've been there before. The Trigger 5 and Trigger 6 were light. So they keep doing this up and down thing. So really, is this worth upgrading to from, say, if you can find a 6 or 7? And there is a lot of them out there still, especially pro stocks or clearance in stores that maybe aren't so busy. I would say not yet, unless you're 100% sold on the dual feel blade and you need puck feel for whatever reason and you don't prefer the stiff stick. But if you're the type of person that just likes triggers because of their release and shot power, I'd be going to find a 6 and 7 somewhere out there, and there's lots. Quick Google, check out stores. I was just at the hockey shop the other day. They had tons of them on clearance, maybe like old stock. I don't really know. That's what I would be doing, unless you need the feel, because the trigger's the trigger. The 6, 7, 8, and 9 have not changed in terms of their release and shot power. It's just a blade. That's really all that's changed. With a 16 out of 20, that's actually a pretty good score on the stick tier list here. But of course, the caveat being the helicoid blade. But here's the thing. My advice is if that you want the newest and the greatest and you get the trigger, make sure your store does warranties, because if you get the one that blows up in 2 freaking days or games or mere hours of ice time, you're going to want a replacement real quick. And make sure that they're the type that does these returns when these things happen and aren't like, oh, it got stuck in a door or something. Because the blades, when they crack the helicoids, they're right down the middle and it looks like you caught it in a board. So just remember that. I would not be buying this online so you can't get a return long term and have a chance for it to get denied. So yeah, 16 out of 20, it's pretty darn good. But man, that helicoid, you just never know.